Okay, just in case you have to get up and write yet another guidebook. This is number 7, update 7?
That's the 6th edition.
6th edition. Moon Handbooks, how many countries?
Oh, gosh,
you know?
They have well over 100 titles, maybe 150 titles now, and they now have guidebooks in Europe, and they're doing the first, they have lots of guidebooks in Asia, which is where they started, and of course they've got the entire North America and the Americas and now the Caribbean covered, so they're now moving into Europe, and I suspect soon probably Africa too. So I hope to get a chance to maybe do a book on South Africa would do it for me.
Get that gig, and I'll come and help. I'll come and help. I can ride on the back of a motorcycle.
I could do with an assistant, yeah.
I was thinking I'd make a very good assistant in South Africa.
No vacation, it's work.
I know, I understand. Did you go rafting in Costa Rica in the Rio Colorado? Or?
Yeah, they have fantastic rafting there. Some of the best rafting in the world. And the great thing is, because it's so mountainous, you get these, and it gets so much rainfall, the rivers are really tempestuous. So you're going through the Cascades and you've got monkeys chattering at the side of the river and toucans flying across as you're going through the Cascades. Absolutely magnificent experience.
How about the snake factor?
I love snakes. A lot of people don't like snakes. I love snakes. And there are 120 species, 19 of them are venomous. 80% of all the deaths, fatalities, are related to one particular snake that is the Ferdinand. It's a kind of bushmaster, and a huge snake, very well camouflaged, very difficult to see. But nonetheless, there are 100 species of non-venomous snakes that you can actually get to handle. There are various serpentariums, such as at La Paz Waterfall Garden, which has this incredible location on the flanks of Poas Volcano, has a serpentarium. You can go in there and handle some of these beautiful snakes and learn something about the importance of their part they play in the whole ecology of Costa Rica.
I'm okay with snakes.
Good.
I am. I don't want to surprise a snake, don't get me wrong. I'm okay with handling a snake, and I'm okay at the serpentarium, but I don't want to be in the tropical jungle and have a snake land on my head or something. A snake that climbs a tree, flop.
That's no fun. Yeah.
You know, or a wiggly thing down your shirt when you go into a yurt or something. That's not my idea of fun. I don't
Didn't
think so.
Didn't that happen in Indiana Jones?
Yes, and frogs. Sometimes frogs or little creatures can fall out of places.
Are wonderful. I just love especially the red-eyed tree frog.
Oh.
And the first time I saw the red-eyed tree frog, I thought it was going to be about 3 or 4 inches long. These little things are only about an inch long. They're exquisite, and they're usually hiding under the leaves. And again, it's La Paz Waterfall Gardens, which is this wonderful, wholesome experience in nature. They also, not only do they have the serpentarium, they actually have a ranarium. Rana being the Spanish word for frog. So you can walk inside the ranarium. There are all these different frog species that are, they're camouflaged. They're identical color of the leaves. And usually frogs are sitting clinging to the under part of leaves for protection. They're usually snoozing. They're very hard to see, but the great thing about the ranarium in La Paz Waterfall Gardens, you can actually walk, they're not in glass cages, you walk inside a natural environment, and there are guides there with labels, and they move the labels around and pin them to the leaves where the particular species of frogs are. So you can quickly find out where they are and learn something about the frogs too.
Well, you probably know there's a frog alert in the world. They're disappearing
It's a disaster.
at an alarming rate. We have a great exhibit at our own Vancouver Aquarium. Frogs breathe through their skin, and it's warming up, and the bullfrogs are eating them.
It took quite a while to identify that it's actually a fungus more than anything else that is killing, not just climatic change, and the fungus may be as a result of global warming, who knows, but it's a fungus that's killing all these species. In fact, there's a place called Monteverde Cloud Forest Reserve which owes its existence, a very famous place, and it's the place that, well, I get a lot of emails, I'm going to jump around here, but I get a lot of emails with people who say, where should I go in Costa Rica? And I say, I need to know what you're interested in. They'll say birding, and I'll say, well, I suggest A, B, and C. And they'll always say, but we were planning on going to Monteverde. Well, Monteverde owes its existence to the golden toad, which is a little species of poison arrow frog, and it's orange, almost gold, and it was only discovered in about 1963, but it hasn't been seen in 10 years. So its existence was only known for about 10 years, and they created the reserve to protect it.
Well, the mad scientists are working to figure out what this fungus is about and how it's spreading, but it is the canary in today's coal mine. There's no question about it. Speaking of where to go to see birds, the green macaw, the beautiful colored birds, Anywhere in Costa Rica or certain places?
Anywhere. There are 900 species plus of birds in Costa Rica. That's twice as many as the USA and Canada combined. So wherever you are in Costa Rica, you're going to have fantastic birding. But there are some people who just go to Costa Rica to see the quetzal, for example, which is iridescent green. It's a spectacular bird, probably the most beautiful bird in the tropics. It's about this size, like a big pigeon. Iridescent green, and the male has got this pink hairdo and these boa twin tails that are about this long, and it does this swoop and dive mating display. And yeah, I can't do the noise of the quetzal.
You knew I'd ask, right?
Well, the trouble is they live in the cloud forest, which that forest is named for the mist, the clouds that envelop that forest at about 3,500, 4,000 to 5,000 feet. So they're not that easy to see, but if you go with a guide, you will see them. But many people go for those. And then there are the macaws. I love the macaws. Costa Rica
Scarlet macaws?
Got two species. There are 6 species of macaws in the Americas. They're just a neotropic bird. So they've got the green macaw, which was down to only about 50 breeding pairs, and now is making a comeback because the almendro tree, which they nest in and eat the fruit of, is protected. You cannot cut down an almendro tree. So, you know, they've got all these efforts to try and get the population back up, and it's beginning to recuperate. Then you have the scarlet macaw, which is also endangered, and they're exquisite because these macaws, for example, they're huge birds, they're gorgeous birds, and they're also monogamous, so you always see them flying across in pairs above you, and you always know they're approaching because they're really raucous.
That's a rare bird, a monogamous bird. How rare is that?
For life, right?
A monogamous anything for life.
Absolutely. There are various programs to help save the macaw. My favorite is run by an American couple called the Frisiuses, and they live outside a town called Alajuela, and they've got this beautiful old Spanish hacienda type house, which has been totally converted into a macaw breeding center. The house is enclosed by massive cages. They have little incubators, and they breed these macaws, and you can see these little like baby dinosaur-like macaws being taken out of the incubator. I have a wonderful photo of the Frisius with them, and then they release them to the wild. When they get enough of them, they'll release a population of maybe 20 or 30 in specific locations that the macaw used to live in, but has disappeared from.
Okay, so this Hacienda Los Inocentes near La Cruz is one area, and that's another area. Is there a magic place, if you don't want to sleep on the jungle floor, where you can stay inside the jungle? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Little
one of the wonderful things I love about Costa Rica, well, you want to do the native shack, you can do it. In fact, I was at the end of a dirt road in a mountain looking for a place to stay at night 2 years ago, and I knocked on a farmer's door because I didn't know where I was going to stay, and I couldn't drive back down the mountain. The mountain road was too dangerous, and I got hosted at in this very humble family setting, which was wonderful. But one of the things I love about Costa Rica is the fact that it's probably the most evolved and most sophisticated travel destination in the Americas, certainly for its scale. So you can, for $10 a night, you can get an absolutely wonderful youth hostel experience, swimming pool, Wi-Fi, internet, etc.
Really?
Maybe in a 50s modernist home in the center of San Jose, and it's not going to cost you more than $10. And you can go to the other end of the spectrum. The Four Seasons is there with its own golf course at $400. Or if you do want that jungle experience, which is the main reason to go to Costa Rica, is to experience the nature, there are fantastic wilderness lodges almost everywhere in the country. Up in Tortuguero, which is up near the Nicaraguan border on the Caribbean coast, is a landlocked little was a fishing village. You can only get in by boat or you can fly in. And there are on this broad lagoon with the rainforest cut open for you to view the animals as if you're in a gallery, monkeys and crocodiles and toucans, etc. Along that lagoon, there's a whole series of wilderness lodges. And because they're in competition with each other, they're always upping the ante in terms of level of service, etc.
And level